Well, we are going to try this again. I don't know what happened, but things locked up and I couldn't correct it. So I had to literally delete the live stream that we just started, which was really, that's the first time it's ever happened. So I don't know if something's going on with my T-Mobile home internet or what, but we're not going to give up. And I'm back again. So let's give this a try. So today, for the second time, we are going to try to present Cadillac Nancy's model 6030 that would have come out in the 1970s. And we're just going to hit reset, which is literally what I had to do. Yeah, we are back, Emma. I don't know if everybody will come back though, so we'll have to wait and see. But we'll just keep on plugging forward and hope that doesn't happen again. That was really weird. And I've got 5G speed, so it's not a speed issue. Could have been a YouTube issue, so we'll see. So slowly, this machine is on the red carpet. I'm going to remove this, and you can finally get a glimpse of this machine. Okay. So again, this machine came to the workshop by Nancy, who is not a local lady, but she's 715. I guess she's going to be out near Marinette, Menominee, Wisconsin, or Menominee, Michigan, I should say. And she was referred by my friends at Joann's. So we are going to put this machine through the paces. Now, the one thing you'll notice about this machine straight away is it's going to have a lot of the same features of the earliest Colormatic model. And Emma, when our live stream crashed and burned just a few moments ago, Emma had already nailed the answer, and that is the first in this series of Colormatic machines was the Model 2000, and it would have come out in the year 1960. And in 1960, there was a vision of trying to make sewing a lot easier for folks. Now our other internet, it must be like an internet bad day or something like that, because the other internet that supplies our music is now also on the fritz. I'm hoping that we don't have to give up on live streaming today, because I have two different internet providers, one that's providing music, one that is providing this live stream. And again, I'm running the live stream through a 5G network. So doggone it, we've got a lot of speed. We shouldn't have any issues unless YouTube has some sort of a glitch. So this particular vision back in 1960 was, let's make it easier for folks. And so they came out with a Colormatic series with the Model 2000. And it was as simple as taking these three knobs, matching the same color, kind of have like I have it right now. We've got blue. If you can see that in the shot. We've got blue with our stitch selector over here. We've got blue on our stitch length. And we've got blue through this little rainbow setting on our stitch width. And by setting those three and having a cam in the back, you could simply match it to whatever cam you had. So if you have cam A in the back like we do right now, and you set everything on blue, then you're going to, there we're back with the music again and off with the music again. You're going to get this stitch right here, which is kind of a combing stitch, I think. And if you set it on yellow, you're going to get this stitch. You set it on orange, you're going to get this stitch. And if you set it on purple, you're going to get that stitch. And the same thing is true of the other cams B, C, and D. And this machine in the 1970s would have come pretty much standard with cams A, B, C, and D. Cams A, B, C, and D. And so you're able to see right away that if you apply all four cams to a project, you're going to be generating a total of about 16 stitches. And again, as you modify stitch length and stitch width, because on a lot of these settings, there's some discretion. Like right now, I've got it on the higher end of blue. And if I rotate this down, our internet is just so weird today. You rotate this down, you can tighten that up quite a bit on this stitch length selector right there. So 16 stitches, that's quite a few stitches to pick from when you're applying A, B, C, and D cams. Kind of looking at the machine again, just kind of a quick snapshot. This is our feed dog drop down here. This is going to be our stitch width. And also, if you pull this knob out away from the body of the machine, you can access an auto buttonholer. And then this up here not only serves as reverse in conjunction with our stitch length, but as you turn this knob either clockwise or counterclockwise, and you're generating a buttonhole by pulling this assembly out away from the body, you can fine tune that buttonhole by adjusting this either left or right to see what kind of output differences you can get with that buttonhole. And then finally over here, we've got our stitch selector. Now, right now we're set as if we're going to generate something from cam A with that blue setting. If we don't want to do that, we can adjust this over to here, and then we're going to get a 3-point zigzag. We can turn it a little bit further to that setting right there, and then we can get either a buttonhole, a zigzag, or a straight stitch. And then finally, if we turn it a little bit further, actually, I might have to do that the other way. Here we're back to the music again. Anyway, what I was going to show you is that it also has a blind hem stitch option as well. So, and there our music goes on again, off again. It is I don't know what's going on with this Saturday, but apparently is a no internet Saturday. That's what I'm guessing. So, oh, Kevin, you get gold. You get a gold star. You made it back after the crash and burn of our first attempt to do a live stream. I've never had any issues with this 5G network. And the 5G network, again, is powering our live stream. I've got another internet provider that's powering our music that's starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping. So must be something weird in the atmosphere today. Government tests or something like that. Who knows? Welcome back, Dr. T from Finland, if I'm not mistaken. So the one thing that really changed as the Colormatic series moved to the 1970s, I'm going to refresh that music real quick. Hold on a second. So the one thing that changed, I'm kind of refreshing my other internet real quick. The one thing that changed in the 1970s with this Colormatic series, again, the Colormatic series started in 1960 with the Model 2000 Husqvarna Viking. As they moved into the 1970s, and any of you that are about my age or maybe a little bit older, even a little bit younger, if you remember the manufacturing craze in the 1970s, it was not only make it simple like the Colormatic series by matching 3 knobs and you can generate any of these stitches depending on the cam in the back of the machine, but it was also make it hassle-free in the 1970s. And that continued into the 1980s as well. And with sewing machines, to make it hassle-free, they were focused on how can we convince the end consumer that this sewing machine is maintenance-free. And they did that through marketing, they did that through promotional materials, but they also did it through the body design of the machine as well. So as we look at Cadillac Nancy's model 6030, and we kind of go across the machine and look across the free arm, where usually we'll have a couple little points where we can lubricate the machine. You'll see on here, there's nowhere to lubricate the machine. The same thing is true on this side of the machine. Even for the bobbin winding assembly, there's no little hole right here where we can add some lubricant to keep that assembly working properly because it has a number of moving parts. Also, as we go across the top of the machine, and you can see that this machine has been in the family since the very beginning because it's been used so much as people are turning that balance wheel. They've actually worn the off-white patina off of there, so you can see the plastic. It's translucent. You can kind of look right through it, right? But as we go across the top of the machine, you'll notice right away there's no lubrication points across the top of the machine either. And the other thing that they changed from some of the other Colormatic models is most of those models, you could just pop the faceplate open and get to those critical lubrication points in the faceplate area that drive that needle bar, that control that presser foot bar, that come off the main shaft. On this one, you can't even open the faceplate unless you kind of go underneath, and then there's a lever. You can kind of see it right there. There's a lever release that you can rotate towards the front of the machine and then wiggle that faceplate off to get to those key lubrication points. But if you're not willing to do that, because their whole thing about the 6000 series model 6030 was it's maintenance free. You don't have to do a thing to it. You don't even have to oil the machine, is what they would argue in their supporting materials for this machine. I'm just going to say that's absolutely bogus. Anything that's mechanical is going to require maintenance. Anything that's mechanical is going to require some level of servicing to preserve and protect that machine. And the Model 6030 is no exception to that. But the tricky part is you can take off this free arm right here and service a lot of the key parts that are adjacent to the raceway right here. That's doable because you've got 3 bolts that hold that assembly together, and then you have to take it off. You can open up this faceplate if you're willing to go underneath and release that little lever so that the faceplate will come off. You're able to take this cover off right over here. And the way you do that is you get a screwdriver on either side of this plastic balance wheel, and you very carefully, so you don't mar this surface or crack the balance wheel, you can slowly work those 2 screwdrivers, one on one side, one on the other, and you can get this balance wheel off. It's held on by a tension band or a clip. And then you can take out this single bolt and you can get this side assembly off so you can get to those key service points on this side of the machine. The only problem is it's a little trickier when you want to service those critical lubrication points across the top of this model 6030 because there's no access point. And as I said in the earlier live stream that had a glitch and we had to start all over again, I've had some customers that have said, the heck with that. I'm going to drill my own holes to get to those key lubrication points across the top of my Model 6030 so that I can lubricate them more easily. That's not necessarily a problem if you do it very carefully, but realize as you drill through, since this is cast metal on the top, those metal shavings are going to fall into the machine. So you've got to find a way to retrieve those so those metal shavings don't get into the worm gears or other key mechanical parts. The other option is when you take off the balance wheel and you remove this side cover, you can also spritz some lubricant into the cavity right here, and it will wick its way into all those key lubrication points. I think that's probably the better route so that you don't end up dropping metal shavings into the mechanical components or dropping into the timing pulley or anything like that. But if it's your machine, you do what you want to do. I'm just saying that it's probably safer to take this off and then spritz it in there so it wicks its way into those key lubrication points. So, but the whole idea was maintenance free, maintenance free, maintenance free, maintenance free, maintenance free, maintenance free, right? So just realize that there's reality and there's fiction when it comes to something being maintenance free. Even if you replace a lot of the parts with Teflon and other type of polymer materials that are naturally slick, there's other mechanical components that are still going to need to receive proper lubrication. All right, enough blah, blah, blah. So a quick walk around this machine, as I did in the earlier live stream, that I had to literally delete. So if any of you were in that first live stream, it's kind of like being in Las Vegas. It never happened because the only way I could get it to stop when it was in that glitch mode was to literally delete that first live stream. So if you were there, you got bragging rights. It's almost like seeing Elvis. You were in that first live stream. You experienced something that no one else will ever see because I had to delete it. So a quick walk around the machine. This is our feed dog drop right here. You're going to push that in if you want the feed dogs to drop, and then push it again and release it to get those feed dogs to pop back up again. This control right here is going to do a couple of things. It's going to be our stitch width control. It also, if you grab this knob and you pull it out, it's going to allow you to access the auto buttonholer. So if you want to do a buttonhole, you pull this out away from the body of the machine, and then you can click it through a series of stages. And if you have an owner's manual, it'll show you exactly how to do that. I'm not a buttonhole guy, so I'm not going to demonstrate that. But if you want to try it, look to your book. You simply pull this out, and then there's 3 stages that will allow you to generate an auto buttonhole. Now, as you're doing that buttonhole, if you want to fine tune the look of the buttonhole, that's what this is for right here. This actually will turn either clockwise or counterclockwise so you can adjust the look of that buttonhole. This also obviously serves as reverse if you're wanting to lock off a stitch line after you've done it. This control does a lot. It's not only the fine tuner for the buttonhole, it's not only reverse, but it's also stitch length as well. And then you also have to match the color of the stitch based on what stitch you want to generate off of that cam. Right now we have cam A in the back, and so we could do the blue stitch, we could do the yellow, we could do the orange, we could do the purple right there. And then this machine would have come standard. I think I said that in the first live stream. It would have come standard with cams A, B, C, D, pretty much what you see right there. And we've got all 4 cams. So depending on how our internet does and our live streaming, I'll try to demonstrate, if not all of the stitches that these cams will do, at least the majority of them, because there's some real cool ones that go with this model 6030. You can kind of see that right there. So, but to give you an idea, when this machine came to the workshop, there were a number of mechanical issues going on with it, including this was broken on it. So I had to take a number of things off and replace the cam stack, also the cam stem as well, and get that working again. But if you've never seen a broken cam stack, that's what it looks like. As you are inserting the cam repeatedly, I'll just kind of show you. As you're inserting the cam repeatedly, pushing it in, pulling it out, pushing it in, pulling it out, pushing it in, it stresses this very thin plastic, and eventually, along with environmental things like an oil-based environment, heat, and other things, this becomes more brittle and eventually breaks. And there were some other issues with the cam stack assembly as well, but all is well now, thankfully. So we're able to enjoy the fullness of this Model 6030. And I know Cadillac Nancy is really excited to get this machine back. It's been in the family forever, and it's part of the family. So there's something missing right now as this machine is in the workshop. Say hello to a couple other folks. I think I've said hello to everybody, to Kevin, and to Dr. T and to Emma. If I missed anyone else, please forgive me. It's been a little bit of a frazzly morning with our first live stream crashing. So, maintenance free, I would argue no. So, if you've got a model 6030 or a similar Colormatic model where they eliminated all the oiling points, do your best to lubricate and service that machine anyway as a vintage sewing machine owner because it needs it. It needs it desperately. So this is obviously set up right now with a bed on here. If I remove this bed, we can access very easily the free arm. You can kind of see it underneath here. And then if we need to access the bobbin for some reason, we can just pop this little door open. So that's the basic lay of the land of this model 6030. And I'd shown you in the first live stream, I've got another machine from the 1970s over on the other workbench right now. And this particular one is a Fashion Mate Model 362. Hopefully I'm pointing the camera in the right direction. A Fashion Mate Model 362. And this one had all kinds of issues going with it, including seldom seen a broken motor pulley as well. And I showed in the first live stream that this cover can just slide on and off so you can service the motor much easier. But in order to service the motor, you've got to take off this plastic housing, which is a little bit of a nightmare to get off because the bottom half of it recesses into the body molding of the machine, and it's really tough to get it loose even after you take all the bolts off. But what I had asked in the first live stream, if you were a part of that, is where do you think this 1970s Singer Model 362 Fashion Mate was made? So if you want to type into the live chat where you think this particular machine was made, that would be fun to do that. I think that would be fun because a lot of people wouldn't guess where they made this particular model. So, yeah. And there all of you are in the live chat right there. How fun is that? So Dr. T, our friend from Finland, is saying, what about Brazil or India? Those are absolutely brilliant guesses. But guess what? It's not right. That machine over here was not made in India or Brazil. But you know what? If I didn't know any better and I didn't read the little nomenclature plate, I would have guessed probably the same thing. Because 1970s, that was a time where a lot of manufacturing was being outsourced, wasn't it? So anyone want to throw any other guesses out there? Not Brazil and not India for that other machine. I'll give you a few seconds. I'm going to get a drink of water real quick and hope that our live streaming internet and our friends at YouTube keep things rolling for us, doggone it. Try to get a little bit more music on again with my other internet. I thought I would be smart in having two internets, but you know what? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. All right, a little bit of music for us if I can get it to work. So I got other guesses coming in. I've got Kevin saying, what about Kentucky? Nope, not made in Kentucky. Unless Kevin was saying he's from Kentucky. Maybe that's, I didn't read all the live streams. So if Kevin was saying he's from Kentucky and wasn't tossing out a guess as far as where that stylist machine or Fashion Mate, excuse me, where that Fashion Mate machine on the other workbench would have been made. Yeah, model 362 Fashion Mate. And Kevin is from Kentucky, then welcome from Kentucky, my friend. And someone else was saying Taiwan. Somebody was saying Spain. I think Dr. T was saying maybe Spain. It was actually, I'll actually show you because my other internet is as fickle as our main internet today for this 5G. I'm going to show you in the I know that I'm aiming the camera right. made in Italy. Italiano. Italiano. Who would have known? So apparently part of Singer's production, at least for this model, was in Italy in the 1970s. So that's kind of... All right. Well, I'm going to get into this machine a little bit before our live streaming goes crazy again. But I wanted to show you something else that is really cool. Because Nancy got this machine in the very beginning and bought it new, it was standard back then that when Husqvarna would give the final blessing to a machine and take it off of that assembly line and say, it's ready to go to work, they would always provide these stitch off samples. But I can tell you that this is not how Nancy's machine was stitching. And there's an example of that buttonhole right there. But her machine was not stitching like this when it came to the workshop. This is kind of what it was doing. Yeah, not so great, right? So let's see. We can put this machine to work before we have another internet glitch. And I think I'm gonna have to leave my light off because of the camera getting fidgety about the LED light. Let's give this machine a chance to do its dance at this premiere. And if you didn't notice in the beginning, if you kind of arrived late, this is kind of how I opened it. Because when a machine reaches this point, it's ready to do a special dance, which our internet is not. Technology, you got to love to hate it, right? Hold on a second. I'm trying to cancel my Norton antivirus just temporarily to see if that helps. And it might not. All right, let's give this a try again. So we're going to be sewing off of cam A to begin with. And again, whenever you're adjusting the knob on one of these machines, just make sure when you're adjusting the knob that your needle is clear of the material. Because as I turn this knob, let me shut that light off. As I turn this knob, watch that needle down below. See that? So you imagine if you have that down in the material and it's doing all of that dancing, you're going to have a bent needle. So just keep that in mind. So we'll do one of the cam generated stitches first. I'm going to set our stitch selector right here. Go ahead and set it on blue. We'll kind of do these in order. So I've got my stitch selector set on blue. I've got my stitch length in the blue region already. And again, when you get into the stitch length and the stitch width for that matter, you'll sometimes have a little bit of discretion. You can see that little red dot right there is the set point. That little red dot right there is the set point. So if I want to make it a little bit longer, I move it closer to the 4. If I want to make it a little bit tighter, I can move it into the mid-range or even all the way over to here. So it's going to be kind of up to me. I'll probably go right about in the middle, right around in there. And then we have to finally set our stitch width also. And on particular colors for the Colormatic series, it's going to have a grouping right here. I call it the rainbow area, where we've got green, red, yellow, and blue. So we can just leave it right there for this particular stitch pattern. And again, we're going to be trying to do this blue one. I'm not sure what the official name is. I think it's a combing stitch, but that's the first one we're going to sew. And then we're going to move into the yellow one, which will be a tri-motion stitch. And then we'll be going into the orange one, which is kind of a blind hem stitch almost. And then finally to the purple one, which is also a blind hem stitch. I want to say that the purple one is the stretch blind hem and the orange one is the standard one, but it might be the other way around. I'd have to look in the book to be absolutely sure. So we'll go through those. And by tri-motion, if you're not familiar with that term, tri-motion means as the stitch is being generated, not only do we have needle swing, very rapidly to generate that stitch from the cam. But we also have the feed dogs working ferociously to try to manipulate that material back and forth. And it's not a matter of it just going back and forth, back and forth. It's going back, 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 forward, 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 back, 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 forward, forward, forward. Wait, reverse that. Forward, 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 back, back. You don't know what I mean. So it's you'll see the feed dogs just going crazy in stages of forward and back and forward and back and back and back and back and forward, forward in order to work with that needle swing to generate the pattern. So it really is brilliant technology that gives so much more capability to the machine than just the standard needle swing that a lot of the other machines would try to do in order to generate a really cool stitch. All right, blah, 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 blah. All right. And I could take off this free arm. It almost would make it easier to get closer to our stitching. But if you could kind of see what we're doing, then that's great. If you want the free arm off, because I really don't need it, then just type in the live chat, hey, take the free arm off. That way I can get the camera even closer to the action. So I'll look in the comments real quick to see what you're saying and see whether or not you want it on or off. Oh, welcome back to Michelle as well. Michelle was in the first live stream, and then this I don't know if it was my 5G network that supplies the live streaming or whether it was a YouTube glitch. But those of you that just joined this live stream thinking it was the first one, we're actually in the second one now. And the first one I had to delete in order to start a new live stream. It's just a mess. It's a mess when technology doesn't work, isn't it? So I'm not seeing any feedback either way. So I'm going to leave the free arm on for right now. But if anybody wants it. So Emma's saying take the free arm off. So let's take the free arm off. I would like to get closer to the action. I really would. But this is a nice little bed too, isn't it? It's got these collapsible, almost like an accordion style feet that kind of pop in and out. So really nice to have that extra workspace, but we don't need it for our purposes. The other thing that I usually don't use, where am I going to put this? The other thing that I don't use typically, but Cadillac Nancy likes it, are these little caddies that slide over the free arm. So if we were putting this machine away, we're all done with our work with it, we can slide this little caddy on. If you've never seen these before, and this little caddy comes on and off very easily. You put your foot controller back here. You put your, who knows, you put your little goodie box right there. Then it's got a place right here that folds out. So you can have little spools of thread. You can put your extra bobbins over here as well. Hers was actually broken, so I replaced it with another one off of another 6000 series machine. So that way she can have full use of that again. All right. So let's do this. Let's try. We'll get a little bit closer to begin with. That's nicer, isn't it? Isn't that nicer? I like it. That way you can see the motion of the machine and the activity of the machine at the same time. So let's do this first stitch. I'm calling it a combing stitch. You might call it something entirely different. And we'll see how this machine does with this first stitch. And the setup on the machine, I'll just cover that real quick. On the thread on the back, I've got the XP dual duty thread. I'm going to show that to you back there. This is not a super high-end thread, but it's a real decent thread. And I buy all of my thread at Joann's because you can buy 3 of these and then they give you 2 free. And that's a great deal. And then as far as a needle, I've got my good old standby Schmetz size 9014 universal needle. So let's do this. Let's do this while we still have a live stream. Hey, all right, here we go. And you can see that this is a tri-motion stitch as well. See how those feed dogs are manipulating the material back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If you hear a little sound in the back, that's the spool of thread kind of bouncing around. All right, I'm going to stop right there. So this is what they're calling a combing stitch. I'll just kind of rotate it towards the camera a little bit. I think it's really a pretty stitch. And you could use it for a variety of different applications. We'll move right into the next stitch, which is going to be, I want to say it's a type of stretch stitch. But again, I didn't look at the book for the official names. And we always make up our own names for stitches anyway. So you can decide what you want to call each of these stitches and make it your own. Yeah. So beautiful, beautiful balance as well that we generated with this combing style stitch. That's obviously our lock stitch, and that's our top stitch. And I sewed a little bit on an angle, but oh well. All right, let's do the next one. Let's jump right into this. And again, I'll show you how to make the adjustments. Part of the pitching with this machine as well, with the presser foot that's on there, is this is one of those that has the pin in the back. So it kind of pivots a little bit as you're sewing. I'm not a big fan of them, but Nancy likes it. Nancy's the customer, so Nancy is right. But I'm not I would use a different one. But anyway, so now we're going to do the yellow stitch. You can kind of see that one right there. And you can tell me in the live chat, and the others tell the others as well. What would you call that stitch? Maybe you wouldn't call the blue one a combing stitch that we just sewed. The yellow stitch, the orange stitch, the purple stitch, maybe you'd call them something totally different. And that's totally up to you, because I think stitch names sometimes that they come up with are really boring. Oh, I should show you the change of that. Oops. So the yellow one, if we want to set the yellow one up, we're going to turn our stitch selector from blue, where it is right now, and we've got to turn it to yellow. So with just a single click, we're already at yellow. We were on blue. Now we're going to go back to yellow again. And again, make sure your needle is clear of the material when you make these adjustments. You can see our stitch length is a combo right here on the setting of blue and yellow, so we don't have to change anything with that. And the same thing down here with our stitch width. We've got the rainbow, which includes yellow, so we can leave that alone. So with a single click of our stitch selector, we're set to do this next stitch, whatever you would call this thing right there. All right, let's check it out. Just going to back this up just a little bit. With these tri-motion stitches, though, depending on where the cam is starting, in other words, when that little finger in the back is reading the bumps on the cam, depending on where it's starting, make sure you leave enough clearance on the top edge, because it might start moving into that tri-motion to the rear right away. And if you don't have a little bit of a buffer, it's going to go off of the material. That's why I've got a little bit of a cushion there right now in case it starts moving in the rear motion straight away. Yeah, I think our music is a lost cause today. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try. All right. So here's our next stitch, the yellow one. Let's see what we think of this. Yeah, it stopped already. Internet is so fickle. Here we go. Yeah, it's a good thing I had that little buffer. It started going backwards, didn't it? And you can see with this particular stitch, there really is no needle swing at all. It's all being generated by that tri-motion feature of manipulating the feed dogs. It's an interesting one. You'd have to look at it real close, but it overlays. It gives you kind of almost a decorative straight stitch with overlaying factors using that tri-motion feature. It's almost I think they call it a pearlized stitch. Those of you that are die-hard stitch masters, you can tell us what you think that would be called, but it's really quite pretty. And if we were to make it a little bit, change the length of it, we could get a totally different look from it. There in the back with the lock stitch, you can see that definition even more clearly here. That's our lock stitch there. Quite lovely. And right now I've got the, I didn't show you on this side of the machine. I'll just kind of move it. And there goes our music starting and stopping again. So this obviously on the front of the machine by the faceplate, this is going to be our upper tension adjustment. You can see right now I have it set on the default. We'll just call it the auto sweet spot that Husqvarna recommends that we use for most sewing. It's got that little red dot. And then over here, we've got our presser foot pressure right here on the front of the plate, on the front of the faceplate. And I've got that set on the sweet spot as well. So we may have to make some adjustments to this or to this, depending on the materials that we choose to sew during this live stream, where the music will start and stop regularly just to keep us guessing. Yeah. I could have made those so much tighter. I've got a big gap in between those. I can almost throw another stitch in between, which I might do. All right, let me get that back underneath the presser foot. Nah, I better not. This next one's going to be kind of a blind hem style stitch. I'll just see if I can tighten this over a little bit more. There we go. Better not go too far to the edge, although we shouldn't have any tri motion on this one. So those are the two stitches so far off of cam A. Now we will sew. Oh, heck, I'm going to fill that space in. That kind of bothers me. It'll be a little bit muddled, but oh well. Get that right about centered if I can do it. Okay. So we're going to lay down kind of a blind hem stitch down the middle of these two where I left a big gap. And we'll see what we think of that one. All right, so I'm going to adjust the knobs off camera. I'm going to change the stitch selector to orange. You can see again why it's a good idea to have the needle clear of the material, right? All right, so I've got that set on orange. Now I'm going to set my stitch length on orange as well. And then I finally have to set my stitch width also on orange. And you can see here within the orange, I've got a field where I could decide, do I want it a little bit wider? Do I want it a little bit more narrow? We'll probably go right in the middle. So you can see we have orange here, orange and kind of a pink color. I guess that's more purple. So purple and orange are kind of sharing that space. We've got orange up here on our stitch length. And finally, we have orange over here on our stitch selector. And again, that's the ease of the colormatic world, right? You match the colors, you should get the stitch that you want off of that pattern display for the cam, appropriate cam. All right, so let's see if we can sneak this zigzag. Let's see if we can sneak this blind hem stitch in between the combing stitch and this other stitch right here on the right. I'll see how well I can steer it. First of all, I'll raise my take-up arm, though, because that's way down right now. There we go. All right, I'll give it my best try. Let's see how I do with this. All right, here we go. I should probably, you know what, I'm going to make it a little bit more narrow so I can kind of squeak it in there. There we go. All right, let's see how I do with this. I did pretty well with that. Hey, look at that. Very cool. You can see it right there. Just a tiny, tiny little kind of a stretch blind hem stitch, isn't it? So we got the combing, the stretch blind hem, and then we've got this one that I think is also considered a stretch pattern, but I'd have to look in the book to know for sure. So that's 3 of the stitches on cam A. Now we're going to do the final one, which is another type of blind hem. There's our music again. Hey, all right on cue. We'll try to do this next one and see what we think of that. And that was it. We need to put more quarters. Anyone that has quarters and can put them into the jukebox. And if you're really young and don't know what a jukebox is, you can Google it. Juke. So let's get this set up for our next one. Try to make this a little bit tighter. Okay, there we go. That's pretty good. A little bit closer. There we go. All right, so this is going to be another type of blind hem. The first one we did, I'm 99% sure, is a stretch blind hem. Now we're going to do the purple one, which is going to be a standard blind hem. So let's adjust it to purple. I always turn it the wrong direction. Hopefully I get it this time. So we just turned the stitch selector one turn, and now we're on the one that is green and purple. Kind of see that in the shot. There, now you can see it in the shot. So our stitch selector is now on purple, which we need for our blind hem on cam A. Now we need to adjust this one also to purple. See, I went the wrong way. There we go. So there's purple now for stitch length. And again, we got a little bit of a range we could work with here. I might as well just stop that music and give up, huh? And our stitch width finally is a combination of purple and orange. So we're already set there. We just have to decide how wide we want that stitch pattern to be. If we want it wider, we go closer to the 3. If we want it shorter, we go closer to the, or more narrow, we go closer to the 2. And then right in the middle will give us kind of about a 2.5 as far as the stitch width for this pattern. So if anyone wants to chime in and type in the chat, we got a little bit of discretion here. Got a little bit of discretion up here too. Where do you want to see it set? Should we go, we'll just say 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, or 3 on the stitch width. And then on the stitch length, we've got a range of right around 2 to 2 1/2, somewhere in that neck of the woods for right there. So if anyone wants to chime in, go ahead and do that. Oh, hey, welcome to Thalia. Welcome, Thalia. It's great to have you here. I think I said hello to everyone else pretty much. And Emma is saying around 2 1/2. So we'll adjust the stitch length. Stitch length again is right here. We'll adjust that to right around 2 1/2, which is on the higher end of that, isn't it? It's right on the higher end. And then we're really close to 2 1/2 on the stitch width already. I'll just adjust it just slightly. Get it right about there. Yeah, there we go. Let's give it a try. See what we think of this one. But some great stitch patterns already. There's some even cooler stitch patterns that we'll probably sew with the other cams, just to kind of demonstrate this machine. Since the major issue was the machine and the cam stack assembly, I'm really trying to run it through the paces there. Okay, so another type of blind hem. This is going to be more of a standard blind hem stitch, and we'll see what we think of this one. All right, get that take-up arm up. All right, let's give this one a go now. All right, here we go. And this again is our final stitch on cam A. All right, here we go. Trying to get it really close. Perfect. And you can see the contrast between these two blind hem stitches. It's fairly dramatic, the difference as you look across here at these two. We've got this one right here. And I guess they could both be a stretch style blind hem stitch. But the contrast, just setting the default knob settings, gives you a totally different look, doesn't it? I'll see if I can get a little bit closer to those so you can see them a little bit easier. So we're done with cam A. And now we can try to move on to cam B and see what we think of those stitch patterns. And everyone's going to have a different favorite, aren't they? They're going to have a different favorite. Someone might look at this Cam A and say, I really love those stitches. Those are gorgeous. Another person will look at Cam B and say, that's my go-to. Another person will like Cam C, and another person will love Cam D. So it'll be up to you to decide which one you like if you're looking at maybe getting a 6000 series Colormatic machine. Yeah, there's our lock stitch on the back. Yeah. All right, let me give those threads a clip and we'll move on to Cam B. And there is a little bit of a trick when you're taking the cams in and out. I wouldn't say it's definitely not brain surgery, but if you don't want to damage your cam stack, or if you don't want to have other issues with the machine, following this simple little tip I'm going to give you will most assuredly help. Most assuredly help. So if we look at the stitch selector right here, you're going to see our little red dots. We've got a red dot there. We've got a red dot over there. We've got a red dot down here. When you're taking a cam in or out, you want to turn the stitch selector, and I'm probably going the wrong direction. I usually do. No, I did it right this time. Hey! So you can see there's a little white dot. See that little white dot right there? Let me adjust the camera a little bit. There we go. The little white dot and the red dot, I've got them lined up with each other pretty much right now. This is where you want to turn the stitch selector when you're taking a cam out or when you're putting a cam in. And the reason being is it's going to retract that finger that reads the bumps on the cam. Again, the finger acts almost like a braille reader. It reads the bumps and then it generates the stitch according to the design and the bumps that are on that particular cam. So when we retract that finger, then it's not going to be pressed into this cam, and we're not going to potentially try to force this and bend that reader finger. The reader finger is much lighter gauge metal and it can bend fairly easily. So set the two white dot and red dot, and then you're all set to remove the cam. And I'll see if I'm close enough. Let me set the camera down real quick and move my little stack closer. You see right now that the cam is sticking out a little ways, not extremely far, but if we grab it, we should be able to pull it out straight away without any resistance or binding. And then we can take cam B, which is this one right here. These are the stitch patterns we're going to do next. And when you put it in, just kind of slide it in gently and then rotate it around until you feel that it's kind of meeting up with those little holes that are in the cam stack, and then just gently push it in until you hear it click. So now we have cam B in there. Hey! You got to celebrate the small victories in life, folks, especially when the live streams keep crashing. So now we're going to do cam B, and we might as well start with the first pattern like we did on the other one, right? Unless someone wants to be a rebel, and I know a lot of you are rebels like me. So as we look at the possibilities for cam B right here, I'll let you type the order that we should do them in. So either blue, yellow, red, green, or green, yellow, red, blue, or any other choice, any other pattern order that you want to do them in. Just type it in the live chat. And I will look at the first one or two and try to follow that direction in the order that we do these stitches. Yeah, I like Cam B. That's got some fun stitches on it, doesn't it? So look at those real closely and decide, do we go in rank order? Blue, yellow, red, green? Yeah, I said that right. Do we do it in reverse? Green, red, yellow, blue? Do we do it blue, red, yellow, green, blue? Just, you know what I'm saying. All over the place. I was pointing at Cam C. Ignore that. Ignore Cam C. So there's our choices right there. You can pick the order that we do them in. Cam B, Cam B, Cam B. Yeah. All right. All right. Kind of come over here. Looks like you're leaning. It's because you are. Yeah. All right, here we go. So what are folks saying? Green to blue, Emma's saying. No difference. Yeah. Hello again and welcome to all of you. And it's great to have Thalia. I'm finishing up a featherweight for Thalia right now, and I posted pictures on Facebook, and she's been so busy with all the activities of taking care of her family, running some small businesses as well, and Lord knows what else she's got going on. But she hadn't seen the post, and I reached out to her. I said, "Hey, have you seen the post of your featherweight?" And she goes, "Oh!" I think that was the octave that she hit. It might have been higher than that, but yeah, I've got her featherweight down in the paint shop right now, and you'll be seeing that show up at a premiere soon. Thalia's featherweight. Hey. All right. No one else is chiming in. So green to blue is what we will do. And I didn't mean to rhyme that, but it worked out that way. Green to blue is what we will do. Green to blue. All right. So we've got to set our stitch selector right here. We got to set that on green because we're going to be doing them in reverse. Did I go the wrong way? I usually do. Yes, I did. All the way the other way. All right, so we got this set on green, which is also shared with purple. Now we need to set our stitch length on green also. Right about there. And you can see we have a little bit of discretion in the green and red range over there on the stitch length controller. Probably go right in the middle. And then we finally have our stitch width that we also have to set on green. And green is going to be part of our rainbow selection that includes red, yellow, and blue also. So this one we won't have to mess around with too much. So we're all set up to do the first stitch on cam B. Let's check this out. See what we think. And it looks like we have an international friend visiting us. I'm sure that Emma or Michelle or one of the other leaders will make them feel welcome. Yeah, I like the badge too, Emma. I do. I'll just show you the badge again. It's really a pretty badge on this particular model. So I don't know where our international friend is from, but I'll let you leaders take care of them and make them feel welcome. And welcome to I think it's Aaliyah Elvira and Ceso. Por favor, por favor. All right, you guys take care of our friend and make them feel welcome. And I'm going to launch into this first stitch, the green stitch on cam B. See what we think of this. Green stitch on cam B. Here we go. I can see my material's crooked a little bit. Let me adjust that a little bit there. There we go. Well, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Oh, I bet you I have it too short. I have it too short. Let me adjust that. Let's see if that'll work better. Ah, what did I do? Make sure my cam is all the way. Ah, it's not snapped all the way in. That's my fault. Okay, hold on a second. See, that's the beauty of live streams is you can make mistakes. There we go. I think that's ready now, hopefully. I am tempted to put a record on any second now because this music on again, off again is really irritating, isn't it? All right, just bear with me for a second here. Okay, I think I've got that lined up correctly. Okay, hopefully we launch this time. I've got the cam all the way in. It somehow had popped out of position, so let's try this again. Boy, oh boy, did I sew off target there. I'll be able to put another stitch in between there. So based on the settings that we selected, this is our green stitch right here. I was distracted by the thread kind of bouncing around in the back. So I went off course. I don't know if I can sneak another stitch in between there or not, but that's the green stitch on cam B. Let's go on to the red stitch now, which is the next stitch. Emma wanted to do them in reverse order, so that's what we're going to do. All right. So lesson learned, if you somehow put the cam in and it sounds like it snaps in, but for some reason it doesn't seat in there just right, you don't get any movement, that's for sure. Let's see if I could do this somehow. Oh boy, am I off course. I'll start right there and we'll kind of fill in that space with the red one. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to do the red stitch next. It looks almost like a lightning bolt. I'll kind of show it to you again. There it is right there. That's the one we'll do next. So I'm going to turn our stitch selector to red. We're already on red here. I might just shorten it just a hair, tighten it up a little bit more, and then we're already on red down here by our stitch width selector too. So red, red, red. Let's give this a go. And I'm going to be sewing a shorter stitch line because I goofed up and I was distracted by that bobbin, or by the thread in the back kind of bouncing around a little bit, and I went way off course. So we'll fill it in with this next stitch, the red stitch. All right, here we go. Let's give this a try. All right, so this is our red stitch off of cam B. Here we go. Oh, it turned out lovely. Even though I goofed up, I was able to fill that spot in, as you can see, with that lightning bolt that we just did. And it almost makes it look like it's straight now, but we know that it's not. We know that it's not. So again, that's going to be the red stitch on cam B. Let's go on to the next one. Kind of keep us moving here. And again, my goal is to try to go through all of the cams if we can pull it off. We'll see. But I'll show you these again just for fun. So we already did cam A. That's starting way over here. We did cam A. And now we're into cam B. We've done 2 stitches on cam B so far. We started with the green stitch, and now we've done the red stitch as kind of a filler. We did them out of order because I had that big space right there that I wanted to try to fill in. But again, for a machine that was sewing like this, and now we're getting a result like this after some workshop magic, I'm incredibly pleased. I'm more pleased with how the machine is doing than how I'm doing in sewing straight. But you know what? Life is all about your own style. So I guess my style is sewing a little bit out of an angle or something like that. So our top stitch and then our lock stitch on the back. Yeah, beautiful stitching. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. All right. So now we will try to follow that line of stitching semi-straight. Don't bet the farm on it. All right, and we're going to do the yellow stitch now. So we did green and red, and now we're going to do the yellow one, and then lastly we're going to do the blue one on cam B. Okay, so we need to set it up for yellow, right? So we're going to change our stitch selector to yellow. Trying to do this one-handed, it's a little tricky. All right, so that's on yellow. Now our stitch length also has to be on yellow. And I'll probably go the wrong direction. Nope, I didn't. Yay. So we're also going to set the stitch length on yellow. So yellow stitch selector, yellow stitch length. And now we have to make sure that we're on yellow, and we are, because that's part of the rainbow selection. Green, red, yellow, blue. We've got yellow there already, so we can leave the stitch width alone. And let's try this next stitch on cam B. All right, here goes cam B. We'll see what we think of this one. Well, that was kind of boring, wasn't it? That was really boring. Let me see if I've got that out of... That clicked a little bit funny. Let me see if I need to adjust that a little bit. I think I had that knob just a little bit out of position. I'm going to try it one more time, but maybe that's what we're going to get when we throw a fit. So we'll try it again. Hold on 1 second. Let's try that again. All right, I think I may have had that knob a little bit out of position. Let's try that same stitch one more time. Let's try that stitch one more time. All right, here we go. Cut that thread. I'm going to move that material in a little bit. I think we were starting on the back movement, and I didn't give the machine enough room. I kind of talked about that with the tri motion. Depending on where that cam is when it starts, it can start to demand a lot of back movement, and if you don't give it the room to do it, then you end up going off the material, which is I think what I just did right there. All right, let's give this a try again. And that's exactly what I had done, is I did not have that knob all the way in position. And so we got a straight stitch on what should have been the yellow stitch instead. So, you have to be careful with these colormatics. They're a little bit sensitive, and you've got to get everything set up just right. That's the funny thing about going simple, isn't it? I'm going to cut that little edge off where I kind of goofed up. So again, depending on the stitch pattern that you're sewing, this is the one that we just did. If you change the stitch length on this, it'll be a totally different look. Not a bad looking stitch necessarily, but I kind of muddled it together because I didn't have quite, I had some discretion in setting that stitch length, and I didn't set it quite long enough, did I? So again, it's the subjectivity when you're doing stitching on where you set that stitch length and stitch width. If you have choice, it can totally change the look and the output of that stitch. Yep. And again, if you spend a lot of time with the machine, you become more familiar with how that machine responds to the different settings. Okay. So I think we have one stitch left on cam B. It's going to be the blue stitch all the way on the far left side. We're going to give that one a try now. We're already set. Let's see. Turn that. We're set on blue there. Set on blue here. And we're set on blue there. So we should be all set to do this next snaky type pattern stitch. Let's see what we think of that one. Okay, let's give this a try. So if you watch carefully, this particular one is using a fair amount of needle movement. It's also incorporating that tri motion with the feed dogs. Yeah, this is a fun one too, isn't it? That's one we just did right there. And again, that's going to be the blue pattern on cam B, the blue pattern. So we've finished off so far cams A and B. We have cams C and D left, and then certainly have other material that we could sew off on as well. But I'll have to kind of watch our time, because between the first and the second live stream now, we've been going a little bit over an hour now, and we ran away. I got to be aware of that because the customer is going to be heading this way sometime soon. All right, let me try to get this back into position. Maybe we'll do like one more cam, because I don't know if we're going to have room for both cams. We'll see. But I'll let you look at those stitches in the meantime. I think we got some really pretty stitch output from this machine. All right, let me get that cam. Well, I want to involve you in this decision. Let me show you the two cams we have left. We're going to do one of them. I don't think we'll do both. Maybe I'll regret that. Maybe I should try doing both, but C and D are the two cams we have left. Does anyone want to cast a vote on whether we do C or D? And if you're really determined to want to see the machine do both, I can try to squeeze 8 stitches in the remaining material that I have, assuming I sew straighter than I usually do. But C and D is what we have left. These are our 2 cams here. So I'm only seeing Emma chiming in right now. Only seeing Emma chiming in, and she's voting for C. So I'll start with C, and if I all of a sudden discover that I've got more room than I think I do, we might try D too. We might also try D. So I'm not going to show you again because I already showed you, but I'm going to set the stitch selector to that white dot, and then I'll take out cam B and I'll put in cam C. Oops, I got to go the other way. There we go. Okay, cam B is out. Now I'm going to try to get cam C. Get cam C into position next. Okay, I think I've got that set. Okay, so cam C, I'm going to go ahead and set it up for the first stitch, which will be blue. Set up this next one also on blue and blue. So let's see if I've got this set up correctly. It's always funny when they try to make something simple, it usually becomes a little bit more complicated. Try to get these fairly tight so we can see if we can squeak out a few extra stitches. Okay, so the first pattern on cam C should be kind of a floral pattern, assuming that I have everything set up properly. Let's check this one out, see what we think. We sure have run it through the paces already, haven't we? Holy mackerel. Yeah, and Michelle is also voting for cam C. I think a lot of people like the cam C because of the intricacy of some of the patterns. We'll see what we think of them. All right, let's give this a go, and hopefully I've got enough of an offset. If it starts to kick into tri motion, we won't run off the material again. Hopefully. All right, let's check this out. Here we go. I'm trying to do a better job of sewing straight. I should probably go to summer school for that. So that's our first one, and a lot of people love this one. It's got a kind of a floral design to it, doesn't it? The one that we just laid down. Yeah, it's quite lovely, quite lovely. I'm going to move us right into the next stitch pattern straight away. Yeah, very, very nice. Very nice pattern. I think C is probably one of my favorites too. All right, let's get that back underneath the presser foot. I'm trying to get my orientation here. I think that's the direction that I just did it. Okay, hopefully not too much tri-motion so we go off the material. So we did the blue stitch on cam C. You can kind of see what we just generated there with that floral pattern. And that's how it looks on the material. Again, 100% cotton. And now we're going to go to the next stitch, which is the yellow one. It's kind of a sunburst style stitch on cam C. So we'll see what we think of that one. All right, let's move into this next one. See if I can adjust this and okay, get that on. Yellow. And the others are already set on yellow, so we should be good to go. So we're doing yellow, yellow, yellow now, and we should be generating what looks kind of like a sunburst. See what we think of that. All right, here we go. I almost went off the material there, real close. I kind of started it a little bit too tight, but you can see what we generated here. Beautiful little sunburst style stitch. I think I probably should have gone a little bit longer on the stitch length to stretch out a little bit more, but it really is quite a lovely pattern, isn't it? And again, that's a combination of the tri-motion and also the needle swing of the machine working together. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, so these are, let's see, we're on the yellow. We have a red one that we'll do on cam C and then a green one last, which is kind of a Christmas tree style one. Actually, I've got that backwards. That's the top stitch. And then the lock stitch. So we're almost through cam C. We've got 2 more stitch lines to do. And we'll see what we think of the next one, which is going to be a red stitch. It's going to be kind of a snaky pattern stitch. Yeah, we'll see what we think of this one. Red, we'll adjust this one to red as well. And finally our, oh, I didn't show you guys. Hold on a second. So the next pattern we're doing on cam C is going to be this snaky style pattern. I think you can see that in the shot. So we set our stitch selector on red. We set our stitch length on red. It's kind of in the red region there. And again, you got discretion on where you go with that, but if you go too short, you're not going to get hardly any material movement at all for a fairly intricate pattern. So we'll go right about there. I think it's a good spot. And then finally our red also on our stitch width. All right, let's do this one. And then we got the green one left on cam C, and that'll be it. Unless we decide to do cam D too. So, all right, let's give this a try. See what we think. Yeah, I got this set pretty short. Yeah, actually setting it short was probably the right choice for this pattern. I'll kind of swing it around and show it to you. And I might have, let me, excuse me for 1 second. My customer might be here. Hold on just a second. Sorry. Hank was barking, and I thought that might be Nancy, Cadillac Nancy, but I was wrong. False alarm, false alarm, false alarm. Okay, so well, you can kind of see that pattern there. Actually, from this angle, it gives you even a clearer perspective. But I think it's a really a nice looking pattern, especially if you were to combine these two, and that may have been the Viking Husqvarna put them on the same cam next to each other, so you can incorporate the snaky with the sunburst or the floral one. All three of them would also be a nice complement, wouldn't they? Yeah, lovely, lovely stitching. So let me take this out. We'll look at the material from both sides, and Emma was already on it. You can see this is our lock stitch. And the lock stitch is always more complicated and difficult to generate, isn't it? And Nancy's machine managed it beautifully, didn't it? Top and lock. So let's do our final stitch on this cam, on cam C. And I might be able to squeak cam D out of this if I do a good job of staying straight as far as the alignment of the stitch rows. Yeah, very nice stitching. Okay, so this is our top stitch. Let me get this back into position. I'm going to make it kind of snug. We're going to do our Christmas tree one now. Get it really close, and then we might have enough room to squeak a couple of the D stitches off. We'll see. Okay, so now we're on to our final stitch for cam B. We've already done cam A, all four of those stitches. Now we're on to cam B, and our final cam, wait, we did cam A, cam B. Let me catch up, Scott. Catch up. Cam A, cam B, we've already done. And now we're into cam C, and we're on our final stitch on cam C, which is this, I call it kind of a Christmas tree or an arrow type stitch. There's probably a million names you could give to it. So that'll be our final one we're going to do right now. So we're going to set the machine up with all green, which it's appropriate they picked one that kind of looks like a Christmas tree, and it's green, right? So I'm going to turn this one to green, this one to green, and this one to green. And we'll do our final stitch on cam C. Final stitch on cam C. Making sure I'm really, really snug over there so we can try to squeak a couple more stitches off on this material as well. All right, so let's see how we do with this. We'll do green, green, green. Green and green. Okay, here goes our Christmas tree pattern, the final stitch on cam C. And should have all of my knobs set properly as far as I can see. Yep. All right, let's do this. Here we go. Well, they didn't do such a great job in sewing straight, but we got some really cool Christmas trees. You can see them on the end there. I guess they also could be, what do they call those? Bugles, right? The snack food? Almost looks like a bugle, too. It's kind of making me hungry because I haven't had any lunch. Yeah. And there's our top stitch for the bugle and our bottom as well. And again, I've got the upper tension set on the sweet spot right now on the red dot. But again, if we wanted to really refine these and make them even sharper looking, we might have to modify that a little bit, because right now we're losing a little bit on top and we're getting a little bit more definition on the bottom. So we might have to do some fine tuning on that upper tension. A lot of people like to stay with the red dot, the default, but sometimes you can't do that depending on the type of sewing and setup that you have. So Emma, you're such a rebel. She's saying, I think you can squeak Cam D in there, man. You can squeak Cam D in. Come on. You never know. It's possible. All right, so while you're looking at these stitches that we've done so far on cams A, B, and C, we got to really back it up a little bit here. Okay, so this is what we've done on cams A, B, and C. I'm going to get us set up for cam D, and we'll see if we can squeak out on that final cam. I might have to sneak over here and put a line of stitching on the far left side, but I'll see how tight I can get it. So, all right, so let's see if we can get this cam out of place. All right, so cam C is out. Now I'm going to try to get cam D back in. And cam D, again, is going to be these stitch patterns. And I believe on the sew-off that the factory did, they did the blue one on that sew-off that I showed you in the beginning. This sew-off right here. All right, let's give this a try. Don't know how much I'll fit on here, but I'll give it a try. Give it a go. Okay, so I'm set up blue. Let's see. Let's go blue, blue, blue. Yeah, blue over here. And blue over there. Okay, we should be all set up now. I'm going to go ahead and do this next stitch on cam D. which we're going to generate something kind of like this. It's almost like a building block stitch pattern. I'll point the camera over that way. So I can ask you the same question I did before. Are there any rebels that want to give me the rank order of these final 4 stitches we're going to do that are generating cams through the machine? Blue, yellow, red, green would be the order that we would normally do them. But Emma had given us the order in reverse, and then maybe somebody wants to hop around a little bit. So what do you guys think? Those are our stitch options. Yeah. Well, if you don't chime in, I'll just do them in the order. Otherwise, we can bounce around a little bit with them. So. Oh, Michelle has to leave. Take care, Michelle. Thanks for being a part of the live stream. I should say the second live stream. Oh, my Lord. Okay, we're going to do them in order. We'll do blue, yellow, red, green. We'll start with the blue and kind of go down the order. All right, here we go. And I will do my best to stay reasonably straight. And I may have done, let me see, check my stitch length and stuff. Yep, I'm going to have to back this up again. Hold on one second. I didn't take into account the try motion, and I had the material set too far back. Let's give this a try again. All right. Take 2. Okay, that should, yeah, I think I've got it set correctly now. All right, here we go. Hopefully that's enough of an offset for that try motion. Yeah, that's a beautiful pattern. And when I get the material positioned properly, the result is great. But again, with that try motion, depending on where that cam has stopped in the back of the machine, will determine what action that cam takes. And if you don't have enough of a clearance on the back so it can go into that back motion of generating the stitch pattern, you get what I got on the first try. And then I made that little adjustment of moving the material a little bit further forward, and we got a really good result with this particular try motion style stitch. And you might call it different things, but it's just a really pretty looking uh, stitch pattern. Had to gather my thought there. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lovely pattern. Oh, uh-oh. Look what I did on the back. That's a beautiful lock stitch, but my material kind of folded over a little bit, and I ended up stitching it down. So now I don't have room, at least for the lock stitch, to lay down the other pattern. See what can happen? But it did a great job. That's the problem with super light cotton. If it somehow gets out of position, I ended up stitching it over on the other one. So we're going to keep on marching forward. We'll be a little bit hard pressed to see the stitching on the back of this white like it is, but we'll just keep on going. Keep on going, keep on going. Nope, I'm going to do it again. Try motion. We got to move it in just a little bit further. But the machine is doing a great job in laying down some beautiful stitch patterns off of these cams. All right, let's go to the next one. So we did the blue. Now we're going to do yellow. And I'm already set on yellow on the stitch length. I'm already set on yellow on the stitch width. So we'll launch right into this next pattern. Just going to check my presser foot pressure real quick. Yeah, that feels like it's about where I want it. I'm a little bit above the general setting that it gives you with a little red dot. All right, let's give this a try again. We're going to do, you see what I'm saying? As I rotate the balance wheel forward to get my take-up arm, look at how far it pulled that material back. See that? And it just goes to show you, if you're going to use these tri-motion stitches, you've got to offset that material in far enough so those feed dogs can pull it back. I mean, that's huge. That's probably a good 2 millimeters that it's pulling that material back. I almost didn't have it offset far enough. Almost. All right, so here goes our yellow stitch, and then we've got a red and green. I don't know if we'll have room for those, but we'll give them a try. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to stop right there. So this is almost kind of a bird foot, I think is what some of you have called it in the past. We've done this stitch pattern before. It almost looks like little bird feet, doesn't it? Kind of angle that a little bit more. You can see it all the way down. Yeah, kind of a neat little pattern. Kind of cool. Yeah, it's just amazing that tri-motion, how far it pulls that material back. So if you're using it, don't make the mistake I did a couple of times and not offset it enough. Otherwise, you're literally stitching off of the material, because that cam generation will tell how far it wants to go back depending on, again, the starting point position of that cam. It's going to rely on that exclusively in telling the machine what to do. So this is what we've done so far. We've been very busy in between two live streams. The first one that crashed and burned, and then the second one that thankfully is moving along nicely. So all the way over here, we started originally with a combing type stitch with cam A, then we moved into cam B, cam C, and now we're finally into cam D all the way over here. That's our top stitch and our lock stitch, and just ignore that. Oh, the beauty of live streaming. But both the top and the lock stitch, the Cadillac Nancy's machine has done a brilliant job. And if we really, really squint, we can probably see white on white over here. Yeah, we can. Beautiful lock stitch, even white on white. Yeah, machine has done a brilliant job. It really has. Now, what I'm seeing here is I only have room probably for one more stitch. So I'm either going to do the red stitch or the green stitch. I'm going to show them to you, and you can type into the live chat whether you want me to do the green one or the red one. Now, the other thing we could cheat and do, let's actually cheat and do it. We can do the red one over here, and we can do the green one over here where I've got just a little bit of room left. I've got some room over here, and I've got room on this end. So we'll put the final stitches for cam D, we'll put one on this side and one on that side. And that'll be it as far as the space that we have on this material. And the amazing thing is I didn't measure this. I didn't measure this and say, oh, I need to make it this wide in order to fit all 4 cams on here. I just guessed. And I did a pretty doggone good job. And if I had done a better job of sewing straight, we could have even had a little bit of extra room on here. But oh well. So I'm going to do our last 2 stitches, one over here, and then we'll be finished with the cam side of things. Oh, and welcome to Kathy Pecor. Kathy Pecor is for our last major contest where we took everybody to Calico. Kathy Pecor had written a brilliant story along with the other authors, and the judges picked hers, and she had come to the workshop. If you didn't see that, you can check it out. She came to pick up her 170th anniversary Singer Class 15 machine that in the first live stream I did, I pushed the machine too far using denim and I broke it. And then I did a follow-up one just about an hour and a half later after I repaired the machine. And that again is a replica machine that was made in India. So replica machines, they're not really built to the exact quality standards of the original Singer Class 15s. And you have to kind of pull back the reins a little bit on how far you push them. I pushed it too far, but that's the nature of live stream and premieres like this. I'm always pushing the machines harder so we can get a genuine feel for how they're doing. And I got to adjust that for replicas. I got to adjust that. So Kathy, I hope your replica Class 15 that you won through that contest is doing well. Yep. Oh yeah, and I'm finally making all those blah 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 statements, and I'm reading Kathy's remarks. So her hand crank Class 15 replica machine is serving her well. She just has to find the right type of table to set it on. But I'm really glad, and Kathy knows this. I'm really glad that I picked out an original vintage oak base to mount that machine in, because there's just no way you can practically use a hand crank if it isn't mounted in a table or mounted in a base. So I think that was the right choice. All right, enough blah, blah, blahing. Let me figure out which way it's supposed to go like this. We'll do our first stitch over here. We'll do our next stitch over here. And again, we're going to kind of have white on white because I let that material kind of fold over on itself. All right, let me get that into position. Press your foot down. I'm going to really quick check to see if there's a message from the owner, because I haven't been looking at messages at all. Oh, and there is. Hold on one second, y'all. Hold on one second. Sorry.
Hello, this is Nancy.
Hey, Nancy, it's Scott.
Yeah, hi.
I am literally finishing up the live stream right now with your machine. And I said to the audience, I said, I haven't looked at messages to see if Nancy contacted me. So I'm doing the last 2 stitches on Cam D, and I'll do a couple other little wrap up things. So yeah, if you want to come by and pick it up, could we say like around 1 or 1:15?
Okay, sure.
Closer to 1 o'clock, I think would work great if that's okay.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay.
Yep, that would be fine. Okay, well, we'll see you around 1 then.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much,
Okay.
Nancy. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right. So Nancy's going to come by about 1 o'clock Central Time. So that gives us about a little bit over 15 minutes to wrap this up. And we should be able to do that very easily. I did want to stitch a little bit on some leather. And Oh, golly. There's never enough time, is there? There's never enough time. All right, let's do this next stitch. Let's do this next stitch, which is going to be the red stitch. We'll do the red stitch next. Do the red stitch next. Seldom, if ever, turn it the right way. Okay, I've got that set on red. Now the stitch length also on red. And the stitch width on red as well. So again, it's very simple. Even I can mess it up though. So our stitch selector is on red now. Our stitch length selector is on red. And our stitch width is on red. And we're going to be doing this. It's almost kind of a shell style pattern right there. And we'll do the green one last. So, all right, let's get to this because the owner is en route. She might even be closer and she didn't want to say it, but we'll finish this up. And I may not be able to do everything I wanted to do, but we got most of it done anyway. Got most of it done. All right, here we go. Here's our red stitch, and then we'll do our green. And hopefully, let me offset this a little bit. I don't think there's any tri-motion on this particular stitch, but I better leave a little bit of a cushion in case it decides to pull the material backwards. All right, here we go. Take up arm at the highest position, and let's give this a go. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Stop right there, and you can take a look at that pattern we just did. It's this one on the far end. Lovely pattern, isn't it? It almost looks like waves, too. I think that was Emma or one of the other leaders had looked at this one time, and I was talking about it looking like a shell, and they were like, no, it looks like the waves, like of water, ocean, wetness. Yeah, it does. It does, absolutely. Oh, and I didn't say it because I don't know why. Probably because our first live stream crashed and burned, and now we're on the second. But setting this machine up, when you put the bobbin into the bobbin case, I'm going to show you with my little fingers here. You got the bobbin case in your left hand. You got the bobbin in your right hand. You want to make sure that that thread is coming underneath the bottom. So that as that bobbin is turning in the bobbin case, it's going to be turning counterclockwise. I'm just visualizing in my head pulling. Yep, it's going to be turning counterclockwise. And then this, because the bobbin case is in the front, almost always when it's in the front, you're going to be putting the flat side of the needle to the rear. So put the flat side of the needle to the rear. Make sure you hold the bobbin case in your left, bobbin on your right. Have that thread coming underneath so that as that thread is dispensing, the bobbin is turning counterclockwise. Yep, hopefully. Hopefully. So, so this is our top stitch here with the waves, which are quite lovely. And this is our lock stitch. Yeah, the machine is managing things so well. It's trying to make me look good, but I'm giving it every challenge possible to not look good. So I'm giving it my best shot. All right. So now we're going to do the final stitch. Let me get this into position. We're going to do it all the way on the edge over here. Again, on the lock stitch side, it's going to be the white stiffener because I ended up sewing over the material, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to do that last stitch now, which is the green stitch. So I'm going to kind of point the camera that way. So our stitch selector, I'm going to turn to green. Yep. Okay. Our stitch length is already in the green region, so I'm going to leave that alone. And our stitch width down here is already in the green region. So the only thing we had to change is the stitch selector. So I'll make sure my take-up arm is at the highest position. Move that over just a little bit more. And we'll angle this down so you can watch this machine stitch off our final stitch on cam D. We've gone through all 4 cams. All 4 cams. Kind of cool. Yeah. All right, here we go. Final stitch. There we go. All right. All right, I'm going to stop right there. So I usually call this the building block stitch, but you might call it something totally different. And you're going to be as correct as I am, because Husqvarna Viking would probably say, you guys are all wrong. It's not called this, it's called that. But we really don't care what they call it. We just care what we call it. So there's our top stitch. Our final one right over here, the building block stitch, as I call it. Quite lovely, quite lovely. We turn it over before I clip the threads. I'm going to have to get really close. I'll do my best. But you can kind of look at it white on white. Hold on a second. A little bit more. Yeah, you can see it. Wow. You'd be able to see it better if I hadn't sewn over the material, but it is what it is, right? So a beautiful lock stitch as well, beautiful top stitch with our final stitch off for the cam generated stitches. So we've gone through A, B, C, D, M, O, U, S, E. Yes, we've done them all. We've done them all. You probably won't find that on any other YouTube channel where they go through all 4 cams. And that's what all 4 cams looks like. Of course, if you sew more straight than I do, and you get the knob positions in the right position the first time, it looks even better. But use your imagination. It looks pretty doggone good. Yeah, lovely stitching. Cams A, B, C, D on Cadillac Nancy's machine. If she hears this, and she hears me calling her Cadillac Nancy, I might get a nasty note from her. You never know. But she's got a beautiful Cadillac. Cadillac used to be the car that everyone wanted to own, right? And they made them super long, like the Fleetwoods, where you had to start turning a block in advance because the car was that long, right? And now they're making them a lot more sporty to appeal to younger people. Yeah, I agree with Thalia. Beautiful stitching. And again, this, what you're looking at on screen right now, this compared to this, before I did my magic work on it. Yeah. Is number one. I feel like an eye test right now, like being at an optometrist. Is number one better or number two? Number one, number two. Oh gosh, I entertain myself way too easily. So, at any rate, a definite pass on the cam stitching that Cadillac Nancy's machine did during this live stream number two, because live stream number one, we ran into a glitch. But at any rate, beautiful stitching. So what do I have left that I could sew real quick before Nancy comes a knocking? Maybe I'll do some, trying to decide. I did not demonstrate the slow gear, did I? I did not demonstrate the slow gear. So let's demonstrate the slow gear real quick. Again, the way you activate the slow gear on pretty much all of the Husqvarnas is you grab this right here and you pull it out. And when you pull it out, it takes a gear reduction for the machine from full speed down to 1/5. It does not change the power of the machine. This machine has a 1 amp original Swedish motor in it. When you pull this out, you're still only going to have 1 amp. A lot of people talk on the internet, on YouTube, on Facebook, and other places like that. I love my slow gear because it gives me more power. It doesn't. It gives you more control, and it reduces the speed of the machine from full speed all the way down to 1/5, which when you're trying to sew around the corner on something is pretty doggone important. And that's what we're going to do as our final stitch off. Our final stitch off, we're going to sew around the corner, or around the edge at least. So, yeah, see what we think of this. And no, I probably won't sew absolutely straight. I probably won't. I want to sew straight, but I just can't. I just can't do it. I'd love to. All right. And I can do, I was going to do the same stitch pattern, but I might go red and do the wavy pattern. I think the wavy pattern will look kind of interesting around the edges of this. So that's what I'll do. I'm changing the stitch selector from green to red. From green to red. Yep, let's do this. Nancy is probably almost here. So we got to finish this off, man. We got to finish it off. All right, here we go. I hope I did okay. I think I said everything right. I might have. Here we go. All right, I'm on a straightaway right now, so don't tell anybody. Don't tell anyone. But I'm going to go full speed for a little bit so we can get down to the end. All right, here we go. Full speed. Sort of full speed anyway. All right, let's go slow speed to get to this edge corner. Here we go. All right, stop right about there. Perfect. Take the slow gear out. Let's rotate our material. Okay. Now we're on a straightaway again, so I'm going to cheat and go fast. All right, we're nearing the edge, so we're going to slow it down again. I just pulled that out to engage the slow gear. Okay, let's rotate that needle down. Move our material, and we will sew off to the finish line now. I'm going to clip my threads real quick off the edge. And I know that I'm not real close to the edge. I probably could have gone down a little bit further. I probably should do that. Let's do that because I'm really kind of a ways out, aren't I? Yes, I am. Okay. Let's put that slow gear back on again. Rotate that needle down. All right, raise that presser foot. Let's bring our material around. Yeah, that's better. That's better. I stopped too short. All right, let's try this again. All right, now I'm going to do full speed going down, and we'll try to close this box off. But isn't that lovely? Can you see that in the shot? Isn't that spectacular? Yeah, it's lovely. I created something. Hey! All right, full speed. Here we go. Nancy is almost here. Cadillac Nancy is pulling up. I don't think she's pulling up, but you know what? Let's be dramatic. Here we go. All right, slow it down. You see the benefit, right? We're slowing it down to 1/5 of the speed, and we can walk up to that final connection point right here. Not concerned that we're going to overshoot it. Although I might overshoot it anyway. You never know. All right, that's close enough. Close enough. All right, let's pop that up. Yeah, yeah, that turned out nicely. That turned out nicely. Give that a clip. Bring our thread to the rear. So we created something, didn't we? Just goofing around to demonstrate the capabilities of Cadillac Nancy's machine. We created a pretty little wavy thing going around this blue background. All we need to do is like stitch a little fish in the middle now. We need a little fish in the middle and we'll be all set. So it just goes to show you, you don't have to be a masterful sewist or a seamstress in order to create something that's cool. We just did it. And all we wanted to do is have fun of showing the control of that slow gear and also the beauty of this stitch pattern as well. Yeah. And our lock stitch is no different on the back. It's equally gorgeous. Don't you agree? And this is, again, if you're brand new to this channel, this is protected full grain leather. So it has a chemical coating on it to protect it from staining and to give it more durability. So even though it's only about 3 ounces, maybe 4 ounces in certain areas, it's not a light sew off. And this 1970's Viking model 6030 that belongs to Cadillac Nancy did a beautiful job between this, and certainly you can see it even better on the top stitching there. Yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely. So between that and Cam's AB, yeah, let's look at that side because that's the bad side. You know, between Cam's ABCD and this quick little leather sew off on this protected full grain leather, I would like to do more, but we're out of time. So I want to thank all of you, especially those of you that during the first live stream when we crashed and burned, I still don't know what happened, whether it was a YouTube failure or whether it was my 5G network failing, which it seldom ever does. And if you're in your area, I'll just give a shameless plug real quick. In your area, if you have T-Mobile has a great program now for home internet. It's 5G speed, which means the download upload speeds are rocket fast, and it's $50 a month. That's what I use for live streaming now. I had something before and it wasn't quite as fast. This generally does a really, really good job. So we're done. Again, I had other stuff to sew, but I think we're about out of time. I need to wrap it up. So God bless you guys. Thanks again to those that started with the first live stream and persevered and came to the second live stream so we could celebrate Nancy's model 6030, just doing a bang up job. Fabulous job of sewing leather and also generate that wrong side. Sewing all of these beautiful stitches with Cam's ABCD. MOUSE. Yes. All right. Well, you enjoy wrapping up chatting if you're meeting somebody new, if you're in the shadows and you didn't meet anybody new, step out of the shadows. We're a friendly group. We love to welcome new folks and find out where you're from and whatever else you decide you want to share. So, all right, I better get ready for Nancy to arrive. Take care, everybody. Now we'll turn this sideways so y'all can look at that. There we go. Yeah, this is a great machine. Great machine from the 1970s. Almost got it. Almost got it. Almost there. There we go. And we pretty much had to go without music today because my other internet is not working. Ah. And that's probably them. That's probably them. All right, take care, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream now.